Good evening. We'll now call the Caroline County Board of Supervisors meeting to order for August 10th, 2010. And I'd like to recognize board members present this evening. Mr. Bobby Popowitz, representing the Port Royal District. Mr. Wayne Akers, representing the Madison District. Mr. Jeff Seeley, representing the Bowling Green District. Mr. Floyd Thomas, representing the Mattaponi District. And I'm Maxie Roselle, and I represent the Reedy Church District. And at this time, I'd like to ask Vice Chairman if he would open with an invocation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let us pray. Dear Father God, we come before you on this day to say thank you. Thank you for the many blessings you've given us along the way. And now, Lord, we ask that you come down, bless your children, and give us the wisdom, strength, and guidance to do what's right for the county, do what's best for all citizens involved. These and all blessings we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please stand and join us with the Pledge of Allegiance on the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we did receive a proposed amendment for the agenda this evening, and if it is in order to accept, let's see, we have two new proposed items.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the proposed addendum to the agenda.
Second.
Motion made and probably second that we approve the proposed agenda items. Consent agenda items 4E and 4F. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same. And motion carries. And we'll start with Mr. Popowitz. Do you have any opening board comments for this evening?
No, I do not have any this evening.
All right, Mr. Akers?
No, sir, I do not. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Seeley? No, sir. Mr. Vice Chairman?
I do have one question, Mr. Chairman. I'm sure all of the board received a email or request from the sheriff regarding the county being positioned with Richmond as opposed to Northern Virginia, and that was kind of something that I talked about before. I know we're associated with RADCO and with some other things, so I guess we should put it on the agenda item and just have us discuss it, you know, pros and cons, whether we'd like to do that or like to pursue it or just say no. So if we get a chance, I'd love to do that.
Right, and that was in relation with the Virginia State Police?
Correct.
Okay.
But it also may help us in some other funding areas because Northern Virginia is considered much more affluent. So I think some of the powers that be think we're more affluent than we really are.
Okay. We'll certainly do that. And I have none. Okay, first presentations, we have our Commonwealth Attorney here, Tony Spencer, and Mr. Spencer, you have a domestic violence report for us this evening?
Well, yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We got some grant funding a while back, and part of one of the conditions for the grant funding was that we were to form a coordinating council on domestic violence. We did that. We've had a great response. We've had people from Caroline County government, members of the clergy, members of the press, people from the schools, people from the Rappahannock Council on Domestic Violence, Rappahannock Council Against Sexual Assault. We've had meetings, probably about 6 or 7 meetings now. There is a problem with domestic violence in Caroline County. There's a problem with domestic violence everywhere in the country, but it is worse here than it is on average throughout the country, based on the statistics that have been brought up at these meetings. There was a lot of talk about things that we could do. One of the things that had come up at one of the meetings was talking about there's a month that's a month that's dedicated to domestic violence issues. I did a little research on that. It's also, I think, German American Month, National Azalea Month, Get Your Eyes Checked Month. There's probably about 30 other different types of months. And I thought, you know, we have months for everything, and they just kind of get lost in the shuffle. People, you know, don't really notice it and they don't really have much of an effect. And so a suggestion was made at one of these meetings that instead of having a month, that we have a year, that we declare this coming year, starting with the school year, as being the year that Caroline County finally says, you know, no, we're going to take this on head on. I'm here to ask you to adopt some resolution to that effect. Really haven't drafted what that might be. One of the things that I've been learning, I've been reading a lot about this now. Really, the way to address this, instead of looking at the negatives to the domestic violence, is to look at it from a positive aspect. So we want to try and make it a year that we work on behalf of healthy families, healthy relationships, respect, things of that nature, which would be the opposite of what happens with domestic violence. We've had great response. Mr. Howard with Parks and Recreation has said that he can make this part of. We were trying to figure out, where do we get people's attention? Where are the people in Caroline County? Where can we get to them? We can get to them in the churches. So we wanted to talk to. We're sending out a letter to all the clergy in Caroline County. We're asking them to launch the year with a sermon, and then also to talk about it throughout the year. We're talking with Ms. Broadus in the schools about making it part of the curriculum for this school year. We've been talking with Ms. Stinson with Caroline Progress, and we're hoping that she's going to be running articles throughout the year in the Caroline Progress. Mr. Howard said that he would make it something that he addresses. You really get people's attention with sporting events, when you've got the kids in sporting events and get the parents there. So he has offered to make it part of what he talks about when they have the parents come together at the beginning and throughout the sports seasons. Various other type activities have been suggested. I don't have all of them with me. I just wanted to come to you today and tell you that this is what we're looking to do. I don't really have any specific proposals for you. We're going to try and get a packet together to present to you all, but the bottom line is that we're going to be asking you all to have a resolution that this is the year that we are going to work on creating healthy relationships, respect, good families. So that's why I'm here, just to let you know that's what we're thinking about. We're going to try and get something more concrete to you in the next week or two. But that's what we've been thinking about, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. But that's where we are right now.
Okay, Mr. Spencer, we appreciate you being here, and certainly continue to work with the county administrator and give us some ideas of what you'd like to see in a resolution. We'll share it amongst the board members.
Good. There is one thing Mr. Ashcraft suggested, that what might help is to have a couple of people that have the time, maybe some retired people in the county who have the respect of people in the county that might act as chairman or co-chairman of this effort throughout the year. And if any of you had any suggestions for who might be good people for co-chairman, I think we talked about maybe come up with a list of 20 or 25 people and maybe going to them and approaching them. But any suggestions that you all have, if you could let Mr. Ashcraft know, and we're going to go to those people and ask them if they'd be willing to share this effort.
Okay.
All right?
Questions, Mr. Spencer, anyone? All right.
Thank
you. Very
Yes.
noteworthy calls, and thank you for being here.
All right.
All right. Next, we have our monthly VDOT report. Mr. Ashcraft, do you know who's going to make that presentation this evening?
I believe anybody here.
Mr. Chairman, we attempted to arrange for David Stanley to be here and thought that either he or someone else would be, but apparently they were unable to make it.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Parton. All right, an update of the GIS project. Mr. Fincham. How are you this evening, sir?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, how are you all this evening?
Very well.
I have with me tonight Mr. Jamie Christensen from Worldview Solutions. If you remember, Worldview was the GIS consultant hired by the county to develop, I guess, phase one of our GIS program. Jamie is here tonight to give you an update on the status of that project. I'm pleased to report that 100% of the deliverables have been provided to the county. We are going through the, I guess, our quality control to make sure that the system functions as we expected to, and iron out any bugs, and hopefully we will unveil this to the public in the very near future. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jamie, who has a brief presentation for the board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and the board. Is it possible to get the screen? I'm not sure how that screen comes down behind you. And if it's possible for everyone to take a look, we're going to bring the screen down, and I'll...
Abracadabra.
All right. So I'm going to give a very, very brief demonstration. This is always a risky proposition, but what I am going to be demonstrating tonight is the county's website that, as Mr. Fincham mentioned, is being reviewed by staff, and obviously want to have an opportunity for the board to review this before we release it to the public. This website is really the culmination of an enormous amount of work by our staff, but also, more importantly, by county staff, to do really three things. One, to consolidate mapping information that's available in the county, and that crosses a number of departments. So that's things like utilities information, parcels, roads, addresses, voting districts. Secondly, to make them a subset of that information available to the public, so that the public at large, the business community, and organizations that partner with the county will have access to that data through this website. And then third, also, we've worked with the county on developing an implementation plan that looks at funding opportunities from grants and what are the next steps of the system. There's a lot of room to grow, and what are the ways the county can take this and leverage it. So what I do want to do is very briefly just show you what the public would have access to currently on the website. This is a subset of the data that's available, so there are going to be certain layers of information that may not be available to the public, things like the utilities, but the website itself allows for a user to log in, and they can first and foremost search for a parcel, for instance. So they can type in an owner name, and I'll just use the example we have here. So I'll just put in John Smith as the first name and last name for the owner, and then I'll go ahead and run a search on that owner name, and it returns back 5 records where the owner name is John Smith. Go ahead and pick the 4th one down there, and you can see that we bring up assessment information. This is information coming from the Commissioner of Revenue's office. So we can look at that parcel and see things about the general information, improvements, and this is vacant land, and assessment information. If I go back to my results here, I can pick another record here. I'll pick one that has some value to it in terms of improvements. And in this case, we have a dwelling on that property, and we have information related to assessments. Where the GIS comes in, obviously, is in this last part of the site, so it actually will bring up that piece of property on the map. And so the idea here with the website is that someone coming on the site can type in their information, an address, their owner name, that sort of thing, and then quickly get to the property or the area that they're interested in on the map. And then once you're in the map, you have a number of layers that are available to you. So I can bring up things like building footprints, and if I turn that on, you can see buildings turn onto the map. I can turn on FEMA flood zones. I'm not sure if this area actually is in the flood zone. I don't believe it is. Wetlands, soils, and as you can see, we have a pretty extensive list of data layers that are available. I can bring in zoning. This is mostly agricultural. And also, at the bottom, I have a list of background layers. So we're looking at the ability to then switch and look at, and it will bring in an aerial photograph. So that's from 2009. I can then switch to an aerial photograph of 2007. And then 2002 is also available as well. And also, you know, for folks who like to see a topo map, we can bring in that topo map as well. And that's available throughout the county. And the background layers you're looking at there is these aerial photographs are actually flown by the state every 4 years. And so those are made available as part of a grant program that the county participated in that actually paid for the majority of this project. I can do things like find what's nearby, so I can say let's find all the parcels that are within 1,000 feet of this parcel. And it will go out and query the GIS, the database, and return to me a list of all the parcels that meet that query request. So we'll see what it comes back here with. So we've got 32 parcels that are matching that result. And I can bring back information about each of those parcels. A couple more things to show you before I take any questions. I can easily on the system bring up tools and measure on the map. So I can draw a line on the map, and over here I can get measurements on the map. I can also measure area on the map. And get acres, or if I want to switch over to square feet, I can do that as well. Lots of tools are available on the system for marking up the map, viewing it in these other tools that folks are available like Google or Microsoft Bing. The map can be exported, and lots of bookmarks are available for the county as well, so we can quickly zoom to, say, Bowling Green, for instance, and look at that on the map. And the layers that I have available will be turned on, so I could say, well, let's switch to my 2009 aerial photograph, and it'll bring up that aerial photograph for Bowling Green. That's just a very quick overview of the system. Certainly, I know Mr. Fincham can make this link available to you to take a look and do a review and provide us with feedback on the system. There's a lot of capabilities I haven't covered here, but I don't want to spend too much time. Certainly would be happy to answer any questions you have about the system. I will finish by saying that, again, the majority of this project was grant funded, and there are grant opportunities for the county to take advantage of down the road. And one of the great things about this technology is it really allows for data that was stored in stovepipes within departments in the county to be available across departments, but not only that, to be available for the public. So it really brings transparency to the data that may not have been there by no fault of anyone's, but it was just, you know, a piece of paper, and now it's digital. So thank you, and would be happy to answer any questions you had.
Jamie, before you leave there,
Yes, sir.
I just want to see how far we can zoom in. Can you
Yeah.
zoom in to where it says the zoom of Chester Lane and Milford Street, which is the lower left-hand corner?
Yeah, let me go ahead and close my tool out here. So where were you requesting?
A little bit left. Now down, right
Right
there.
here?
Right there. That's good, right there. Perfect.
Yeah, a little bit further.
Okay, perfect.
Right there.
That's good.
That's good.
And I'll keep going down here. We can go a bit more.
Oh, that's okay. That's fine right there. I just,
And I can use a tool, for instance, to do a comparison. So we're looking right now at a 2009 photograph, and I can say, let's do some comparison analysis where I can actually compare the photograph between 2009 and 2002. So we're actually swiping over that 2009 photograph with a 2002 photograph. And I can
my
do the
yard
same.
looked a lot better in 2002. Okay. No, I really wanted to see the zoom level that you had, because I know the state photos only zoom to a certain amount. I'm not sure if that's security related or just a function of the machinery. So that was kind of just a curiosity. That's my neighborhood, so I actually know what's there.
Absolutely.
That's kind of why.
Yes,
I
sir.
asked. All right, now, can I do it? Do I have the capability, because I saw voting districts and things like there, we have all the data points within the county collected so far? Like, can I do a report and say, show me all the fire hydrants in the Mattapanai district?
Yes, sir. So one of the things that this website is great at is going to distinct properties.
Mm-hmm.
We have software in the county for them to answer questions like, how many hydrants are in the Mattapanai district, or tell me the addresses that are in this district.
Right.
So yes, absolutely. That capability is there today.
This is really dummy data you're working with, aside from the maps, but the values and things you're simulating, that's not real data yet, is it?
It is real data on this site, but it is secure, so you have to log into the site to get access to it.
Okay, can we, it's read-only, I take it, so we can get a chance to play with it?
Changes cannot be made right now to this.
Okay,
Yes, sir. We will email everybody the password so that you can access the site, play with the data, and
okay.
They have.
And one of the reasons I asked that is my first job in computers was to break software. So if it can break, I'll break it. I just want to see what'll happen.
We look forward to getting your feedback.
Okay, thank you.
Would like to make one? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, just any other questions? And I guess, you know, for different levels of access, you know, I heard you mention maybe, is this something that some localities allow the general public to view?
Yes, sir. And I
Right.
think the way this website is designed is that depending on how you log into the site, you can have access to certain data, and that's neither a black nor white issue. It can be anywhere in between, so you can sort of decide what pieces of the system you want to make available to different people.
Right, and we I'm sure would be sensitive to some things that we'd want.
Right. But it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
all or nothing. It could be the parts that you decide that are important for the public to see.
Absolutely. Okay. All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, very nice looking software package.
Thank you.
Web-based, huh? Okay, I understand Mr. Newton has arrived from VDOT. Mr. Newton, good evening, sir. And,
You got caught in traffic?
yeah, traffic's bad out there, huh?
No, I got some bad information,
I understand that. That's happened to me every once in a while.
but I got here anyway.
There you go. Do you have anything to report to us this evening, sir?
Well, I was going to go over the maintenance activities of the area
Okay.
and where we're standing with some of the schedule work. As you can see out here, we did part of 301 with the schedule work. Also, they're working on the lower part of 17 from Port Royal down to the Essex County line, expanding the shoulders and paving the roadways. And surface treatment schedule is underway in the county as well. And again, we'll run into the normal issues of dust from the sand we put down, as well as some loose gravel issues. For the maintenance activities, the patching contractor is in the county, and we'll be here for the next 2 weeks taking care of some of the issues we have on some of the secondary routes. This is the paving operation that we bring in. 500-foot patches is all we can do, so we'll be doing some of those countywide. Grass cutting on the secondary system is just about finished. We've got probably another week or so, and we'll be knocking that out and moving on to other items. Brush cutting countywide as well with the boom axe, and Mr. Stanley wanted me to let y'all know that he received a complaint to last month's meeting, and he has not forgotten it. We're having an issue moving around equipment trying to get it taken care of, but we will get it taken care of soon. Also, the maintenance crews will be working on routes 30 and 207 on the shoulders, getting those taken care of. And another issue Mr. Stanley wanted me to talk about is the crossover out here at the Chevron station. That has been turned over to traffic engineering to review. There are some issues with it about the logistics of how we can get it put in and stuff because of the location, but they are working through it and trying to get it settled and moving on from there. Now, do y'all have any questions or concerns you want to mention?
Yes, sir. We certainly appreciate you being here and offering us the opportunity. Mr. Popovich?
Yes, sir. Over at Route 606 near Jackson Shrine, there's a railroad crossover. CSX attempted to repair that, I guess, about 2 years ago. That thing is falling apart. I've gotten several calls from citizens, and not only them, but also the fire chief over at Company 6 about the danger point that it is. I know that CSX owns that,
Yeah.
but it's a liability.
Okay. I'll call Mr. Brooks, Glenn Brooks. I've dealt with him before, and when I was down here, I was worked for Charlie and David down here. So I'll call Mr. Brooks and see what we can get done. He's the one in charge of the maintenance of the track crossings here in the county.
Yes,
I'll
sir.
call him and see what we can get done about getting it fixed.
All right, because it's starting to crumble and it's starting to cause a real big problem.
Okay. I'll check it out too, see if there's anything we can do to help.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Akers?
I don't have any questions, but I do want to say thank you to VDOT for doing some patchwork, doing some repaving on 95 northbound. I trust that you're going to go to the southbound traffic lanes after you finish the northbound, because
We're hoping to.
it really makes it nice, and you're doing some resurfacing with gravel and tar up in the western part of the county, and I appreciate you doing that. It's good.
Mr. Seeley?
Good evening. I know retarring is a good thing, and there are some folks appreciative, but I have, in White Pines, I guess they went in and tarred the road and then sanded it, which is, I guess, typical. And now I've had 2 folks call and say there's so much sand that in places that even stopping's interesting. So if you guys are riding around or out that way, could you take a look at, I rode through there, I know what you did, and I think some of it's a function of just, there's been just enough rain to make it miserable and not enough to get rid of it. And I don't know what can be done, but I told them that I would mention it because I knew that VDOT would be here tonight. So if you could just take a look at that. I'm glad to have the road sealed. I guess it's a two-edged sword. The sand is the byproduct of doing it. But other than that, thanks for what you guys do.
Not a problem. I'll take a look at it before I go back up the road.
Okay. Mr. Vice Chairman?
Thanks, sir. Ms. Newton, first of all, thanks for being here. We do appreciate you being here. You mentioned during your comments that you were looking at the Chevron Station crossover.
Yes, sir.
It's really right down here.
Yeah.
And you said that was turned over to traffic control.
Traffic engineering.
Traffic engineering.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They'll do a study on it, see the feasibility of expanding it, what the logistics will be of, if we expand it, will somebody else be trying to cut through another entrance or something from it, to see, look at every aspect of it to make sure it's a safe maneuver on our part.
Okay, and that's exactly what I wanted you to say, and to make sure we understand what's going on is people going north on 301 will try to turn left, but because of the entrance to that Chevron station, they actually end up going 10, 15 feet the wrong way on the southbound aisle. So I'm really asking, as a safety concern, if you could make that bigger so you're making a true left turn into the Chevron station.
Yeah, that's what traffic engineering will do. They look at all the safety aspects of it.
Okay, and that's really the key there. Okay, thanks a lot. Again, I appreciate
Not a
you being
problem.
here.
All right, sir. And I did hear you mention the shoulder issues on Route 30 and 207. Can
Yes,
you
sir.
expand on that a little bit?
What they're going to do is go in and pull up the existing stone. If they need to add stone, they'll do it to try to get a nice level place so nobody will run off and have an accident. No, the traffic will cut it down 6-7 inches sometimes. So they'll just pull up what's been kicked over and add more stone to it to take care of it.
Okay. And on Route 30, Mr. Stunkel was working on this for many years to try to get between where the State Fair is and then
about paving?
the shoulders the rest of the way through there.
That is in the works. It has not been forgotten. I promise.
Yeah, do we have any possible timelines on any of that work?
I know they were looking at trying to do it. They had some. It was done with safety funds because the drop-offs and stuff there.
Yeah.
That's what they were looking at, trying to do it some more. Do another section of it, if not all the way out to 301. But I'm not exactly sure of the time frame. But I'll check and get the information to David or bring it to you myself next month.
All right. And in front of the Don Progressive Center on Route 30, it's Route 30 east of 301, the pipes, I guess we have a pipe cleaning crew that comes through every so often.
Yeah.
Are blocked up.
Okay, and that was in front of
The Don Progressive Association.
Don.
Don
Progressive
Progressive Association.
Okay. We've been having trouble trying to renew that contract, unfortunately, so that's why the holdup.
Right.
But we'll
Okay.
get it taken care of for you.
Okay. All right. Unless there's other questions, I think that's all we have. We appreciate you being here, sharing your time with us.
Y'all have a good evening.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You too, Mr. Newton. Okay, next we have the update of Victory Park. And Mr. Wilson, is that your discussion this evening?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is an update on the enhancement program, the Washington Rochambeau Victory Park that was awarded in 2007. It's progressed in recent months to include the planning input of stakeholders, including the town of Bowling Green, the circuit court judge, and the sheriff's department. Key to the plan, as you recall, was to establish expanded parking over by the courthouse area. With increased parking as a starting point, the enclosed plan and construction cost estimates reflect the stakeholders' consensus draft for the Board of Supervisors to review. A final review of the plans by VDOT enhancement grant administrators is required before commencement of construction and grant drawdown can happen. This is anticipated to be successful. We have some slightly provisional numbers for you that look, I think, very strong at this point. Costs and funding estimates of the draft plan indicate the following: $148,000 for hard costs, materials, construction, and so on. $53,600 for exterior furnishings and signage. We also included in that, which is not shown in the attached breakout, $20,000 for historical markers and signage. $30,000 for architectural and engineering costs, already expended in the planning phase of this project. Some additional costs could be incurred for finished site plans or other soft costs, but these expenses, if they do occur, are anticipated to be minimal. So the total project expense, as we view it now, is $231,600, 80% of which is $185,280. 20% match is $46,320. We have not included in this number a contingency fee, contingency number actually. However, there has been some money, as I said, expended already, approximately $30,000. Some of that is staff time, which is certainly in-kind match. That would bring down the $46,000 required to be the grant match. And some other costs that we're trying to get final determination from VDOT that could possibly be used also as a match to that to the 80%. So certainly it's going to be less than the $46,000. Whether it will be approximately $16,000 is still something of a guess. But we know we're in the right neighborhood with less than $46,000. The town has wanted to be an active partner in this project, and they've been very helpful every step of the way and have contributed very actively to these meetings. They've given us an update that they indicate that they would probably be willing to put $5,000 toward the match, and they would probably apply another $10,000 to paving to areas close to the park, but would not be within the actual park grant area, where the grant would not actually apply. So this way, the whole project would be enhanced, though it would not be specifically within the park itself. The roughly $340,000 reduction over the original project cost of $572,000 in costs anticipated for the park project is derived from enhanced design efficiencies. For example, originally identified land for parking required an archaeological study that could possibly be very expensive. In fact, so expensive that it would absorb virtually all the money for the project. So moving that parking away from that site made sense. This parking site that we have decided would work is 19 spaces on the site where the former jail used to reside. That parking site is also partially prepared for paving, which is another cost savings. And Ennis Street will not be torn up for green space. The Planning Committee noted issues of security and emergency vehicle access, inhibiting that design feature. Again, another large cost savings. However, additional features that add to the appearance of the park yet do not inflate costs inordinately have been included, such as additional lighting on Ennis Street near the parking area. This also adds security for those using the facility and accessing the courthouse area. More green space near the vehicle sally port area, benches for park users, additional sidewalks on Ennis Street, brick patterning of existing sidewalks, and extension of the walkways of similar appearance to connect the park to Main Street, and again, signage depicting the historical significance of Caroline County and Bowling Green to the nation's history. So with the board's approval, with the plan that is enclosed, and a final sign-off by VDOT of those plans, we could proceed practically immediately.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Board members have questions of Mr. Wilson, Mr. Popowitz?
Yes. You mentioned that there was no contingency put in this?
No, sir, we have not put a contingency in. These are very strict numbers as they stand.
Okay, so these are raw numbers. I noticed that there's a transformer still in here.
Yes, sir.
How did the architect engineer decide to deal with that issue?
Best of my understanding of architectural issues, engineering issues, is that they have reviewed that Sallyport area, and they believe that traffic can be moved around to access that. The sheriff was a part of those discussions, and the existing design is satisfactory to him.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Akers?
My comments are the fact that when we first went into this process of developing Victory Park, that was a purpose behind why we wanted to do it. We wanted to do it to provide additional parking spaces. We wanted to do it in order to enhance by lighting the existing parking spaces and the new parking spaces where it would be security for the people. And I guess my point now is, have we diluted the project to the point where does it make sense to pay to spend the money that we're asked to spend on this project?
I would not presume to suggest what the board would want to decide whether they would spend or not. However, I don't think dilute is perhaps characteristic of the plan that's in front of you. What it has done is delivered what the board has requested. You have the 19 spaces. They will be more efficiently applied on this spot than they would be elsewhere, certainly for the money. Lighting is enhanced, so the board would be receiving that aspect that they wanted. The area will be more green, more inviting, and will be more public-friendly to use. Certainly the area around the museum would be enhanced. The town center would be enhanced. It would be a better experience for anyone visiting that area. So I think the board not only is getting what they asked for, they're getting it for far less than originally anticipated, and your match, of course, is approximately half or even less than half of what was anticipated at the cost.
How many parking spaces did we anticipate in the very beginning of this project? How many were we planning to add?
I'm not entirely certain. Do you recall, John? 19, which is what I think we have.
That's what we planned to
what we
add
wind up with. Yes, sir.
With the original? I was thinking somehow another 75 stuck in my mind, or maybe it was 75, including what was there. I don't know, but okay. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Seeley?
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Mr. Vice Chairman?
I'll try to make up for Mr. Seeley then. Mr. Wilson, on the map that we have, there appears to be brickwork or a walkway actually crossing in a street. Do you
Yes, sir.
kind of see it? Okay. Is that just a crosswalk in which cars will still be able to drive over, or is that some sort of physical barrier?
I do not believe it is a barrier. I believe you will be able to drive over that.
Okay, Mr. Weber is nodding his head as a crosswalk. Okay, so it's really just aesthetics. We're going to dig up a little bit of the asphalt, plant pavers there, so it looks like there's some sort of continuity.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's fair, and it just graphically looks like there's a step in there. That's why I wanted to ask for this crosswalk. All right, the last thing is really the parking lot, which is not really the county's, but it's in County Street, And I thought we were going to talk to the owners of the Radio Shack tender building to ask them if they wanted to have that piece of property included. Did we not do that?
Well, actually, as we look at that aspect, if I believe I'm talking about the same thing you are, the space behind, the parking area behind the shops, they do not qualify within the grant parameters to have money applied to there. So we cannot actually use the grant to do that. However, the town has recognized the need for that, and they've indicated that they would probably place as much as $10,000 toward enhancing that parking area.
Okay, why don't they qualify?
It was out without the boundaries, beyond the boundaries of our original grant application. So they will only let us do so much. It's also public, or rather, some private property back there, and this grant does not apply to private property.
Okay, so we didn't try to ask them if they wanted to basically donate their property or contribute their property to the county in exchange for, you know, perpetual use and the county fixing it up.
I believe the town has made that inquiry. I'm not sure if every person back there, every landowner back there, but they have made inquiries to see if they could have those kind of relationships. And as my understanding, I'll look toward Mr. Manster.
Thank you.
And they have made that outreach, and we're unsuccessful.
Okay. Mr. Manster, would you like to add anything? I mean,
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Mr. Wilson has summarized the town's position very well. We have contacted the property owners there, and we will be working together to resurface that parking lot and to restripe and to create hopefully additional spaces than there are now.
okay, so you're basically going to resurface or work with those property owners to try to resurface that area.
That's correct.
And I just thought, I mean, we were creating green space. I thought we were going to kind of work our way through there and be a nice county-town, private, joint partnership deal. But if the town and the private folks want to do it, that's fine. I just thought it was going to be part of this. So that's why I just want to make sure.
We hope it'll all be part of the same project, and we'll have some benefit from all activities.
Okay. All right. I think that's it as far as the town's concerned. I appreciate it, Mr. Manster. All right, Mr. Wilson, I understand we're quite a bit, we're at 231,000 or something. Is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And our local match is 46,000.
Well, probably less.
Probably less, because we've basically pared the project down quite a bit.
We have, sir.
Seem like a good project to you?
Yes, sir, it does.
It does?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, I guess my question is, are we sure that, our long-term use where this new proposed parking lots are going to be parking lots? The building that's there is where the extension office is. How long is it going to be there? And I'm a little concerned about, we moved the parking lot from the side of the courthouse because of the expense of the archaeological studies. Where a building existed once before, we tore it down. And now we have to do a survey, archaeological survey. By whose request? Is that something that's part of the grant, or is that, if it's just the county involved, we wouldn't have to worry about that?
Yeah, well,
But it's because it's a state grant, now we have to do this archaeological survey.
well, worse, Mr. Chairman, it's a federal grant.
Oh, even worse.
that the state is administrating. And I only say worse as in that it is more stringent as far as our needing to comply with federal regulations and how the money is to be used. And we have been warned explicitly by VDOT that were we to use the original site, the costs would more than likely be prohibitive.
But we don't have to do an archaeological survey where we're going to put the driveway over here.
No, sir, I don't believe we do.
Okay. Well, we're going to balance our budget, but can't do that in the federal government. Okay, I'm trying to figure out the math on this thing. All right. Good enough. All right.